Hello, and welcome to MoviePod, a reclaimed cinema podcast. Today we'll be discussing a film with a muddled production history that its own director has disowned. A revised and extended edition that appeared on home video that's closer to the intended original vision has been received far more positively than the theatrical release. We are discussing David Fincher's incredibly cynical and bleak debut film, Alien³ Joining me today is my good friend Ben. How's it going, Ben?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. We're recording this episode in MoviePod Studios right now. So what do you think of the studio?
Nice. It's
Yeah.
my first time here.
yeah, definitely your first time in this room.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, it'd be fun to turn this place into a proper recording studio somehow, like soundproof the walls.
It's gone through many permutations over the years.
Yeah,
So that could be the next step. You get those like egg curtains on the walls.
Yeah, I at least want one of those like on air signs. It's like
that'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah, and we're also being joined by McCluskey right here, our own little alien beast. She's asleep right now behind me. So we're talking Alien³ today. Also, stylized as Alien³, which always fun because I was wondering with this episode should I put it upload it as Alien³ or Alien³, but I don't know how you can even search that 3 above the thing.
Oh, there's probably some kind of ASCII combination that pops that thing up, but 3 is just easier.
3 is easier, yeah. This is Alien³. So, I know the answer to this, but what's your general experience with the Alien franchise overall?
Well, so I would say that if people ask me what my favorite movie is, I'll stumble over it a bunch, but eventually I'll come up and say probably the original Alien.
Uh-huh.
So, another thing to note, I'm absolute kind of apologist for this series, so it has some entries that are a little bit controversial. This might be one of them. Mm-hmm. I tend to think there's at least, even the worst ones have at least some positive elements. I don't think they're all great. They definitely have their flaws. Definitely worth talking about, but I guess that's why we're here. So.
Oh yeah. This one has a ton of warts to it.
Yes, it does.
I think I first watched this at your place, Alien 3. Because I know you got the Alien quadrilogy set on DVD back when it came out, around 2003 or so. Maybe got a little bit afterwards.
It was probably later than that. I think it's funny because I know the very first Alien movie I saw is actually probably the worst one. It was Alien Resurrection in my parents' back room.
Mm-hmm. I think I watched it.
You and Jason were there.
Yes, I remember watching that. Yep, I watched it at your place.
That was the first Alien movie I ever saw.
Yeah.
And then I think you and me saw Alien vs. Predator in theaters when it came out.
Yes, we did.
And then I saw the good ones after that.
Wow, so you came to those movies pretty late. I always assumed you just watched Aliens was on TV a fair amount, Alien less so. I definitely watched, I watched Alien, maybe my dad rented it or something like that. I watched at the age of 6. I remember seeing the chest burster thing pop out at the age of 6. So
no, I think it was a solidly grade 7 or 8 thing for me.
Okay, wow, so later than me. But for me, Alien is one of the best movies ever made, first off.
Of course, yeah.
Aliens, the sequel, is incredible. It's not the best horror movie, but what James Cameron does with that movie as a horror action film and turn it into a bombastic spectacle, it is riveting. I love Aliens a ton.
Well, and it's great too. I mean, the thing about this series is I think due to the nature of the series, you'll notice that each edition, whether they get it right or wrong, definitely tries to they can't just rehash the previous movie, because you can, as awesome as it is to see this alien monster stalking people through corridors, there's only so much you can do with that concept before you have to innovate. So that's why Aliens added more aliens.
Mm-hmm. And Alien³ did a lot of strange things, probably because it was a hodgepodge of a million scripts.
Yes. But even it, and I'm sure we'll get into it more, ended up doing something very different from the previous Alien movies. Whether or not you liked it, yeah. But
truly no movie feels like Alien³. I truly think it's probably the most cynical and bleak blockbusters ever made.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
From there's a few movies that might look like it from an aesthetic point of view. I mentioned to you when you invited me to do this that I know you haven't seen it, but the prison segments from Chronicles of Riddick kind of look a little bit like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But again, from every other component of the movie, other than just the background of this space prison,
mm-hmm.
it's its own thing.
I'm going to get into the basic plots of Aliens and the history of it as well. But a main reason why people absolutely hate Alien³ is because it opens up with everyone except for the main character, Ripley played by Sigourney Weaver from Aliens, dying horrifically off screen.
Yeah, not only off screen, in the opening credits.
The opening credits, yeah. So you get to see, like, you know, like, oh, here's some characters we love, and they're dead.
And if you are Hicks in particular, you are definitely very dead.
Extremely dead. Okay, so also, like, with Hicks, though, like, okay, so I was on the Alien Wiki, whatever it's called. There's, like, 3 different versions of it. So apparently in the non-canon universe, did you ever play the video game Aliens: Colonial Marines?
So, I did not. I have played many of the Alien and Aliens branded games out there, but I did not play that one.
Yeah.
Mostly because it got such bad press on launch.
It's literally the first, like, it got horrible press at launch. This is the buggy as hell action game. Came like 2011, 12 or something like that.
Something like that.
And so, like, I got it on Steam. It was like, oh, it's only $20. I'll absolutely try it for $20. I'm like, okay, time to see the Steam refund system works, because it did not work whatsoever. It was the buggiest game I ever played. Apparently, there's been some fan mods actually kind of fixed the game, so it's kind of playable. But when I got the Alien Colonial Marines, apparently there's one DLC called Stasis Interrupted. And in this DLC, you play as Hicks.
Oh, okay.
So, like, it takes place after Aliens. You get, like, he gets woken up, everything like that. And through some circumstances there, some random schmo, like some other guy, gets put in that casket instead. So the guy in this universe, Hicks lives, he has, you know, his fun adventures elsewhere. And there's some asshole gets stuck in this coffin and dies in Alien 3.
That sounds like a hilarious fanfiction decision, which is... Sure, why not?
And, like, with Alien 3, like, people just do not like this one really at all. Like, the fact that there's years and years when they're trying to, like, before, like, between, like, when they Ridley Scott made his prequels, like, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and then they finally came with Alien Romulus, there's talks of Neil Blomkamp, the guy who did District 9 and Elysium, come with his own Alien story. And his story was like, we're forgetting Alien 3 and 4, we're making it, it's going to be a sequel, we're going to have all this fun times with Ripley and Newt and Hicks.
I think a lot of the when you invited me to do this, I did some research on some of the alternate Alien 3 scripts that were out there, and I think like a lot of them, like some of them barely had Ripley in it, and focused on Newt and Hicks. So like they're clearly characters that like resonated with people, which is why killing them off is kind of a bold decision.
And if you're someone like me who loves a bold decision, it works really well for me. I think like for me, like can't get really too hung up on the fact that like, oh, like an Alien movie did something too mean to the characters. This is a franchise where, like, literally at a dinner table, an alien bursts out of a guy's stomach.
Yeah.
But it is an extra degree of cruelty, though.
I mean, in the case of both those characters, not only did they die, but, like, Hicks died pretty brutally, and then Newt, they have to do that autopsy scene, which is, and again, I heard much like the, like, I don't know if it's a rumor, like the Event Horizon, like, extended Hell segment cut, but apparently there was an extended version of that autopsy where it was much more visible than what is going on.
You saw a lot more bones cracking and stuff, and saw a lot more of the cutting.
But like what you got already, keeping in mind that this is like a 8-year-old or 10-year-old or however the hell old she's supposed to be child, and someone that the last movie introduced you to and got you to really like, and then in this movie she's reduced to,
yeah. Yeah, it's not very pleasant. And, like, what's kind of funny, too, but, like, this is, like, the era of, like, late 80s, early 90s. Like, movies like RoboCop and Alien and Terminator, which are not made for little kids, they got a lot of merchandising and toys.
Yes, they did. I remember my cousin, I didn't see RoboCop again until one time at your house.
Yeah.
When we were, like, 20.
Yeah.
But I remembered my cousin had a RoboCop action figure when we were, like, 5 and 6, and it never occurred to me that this was, like, I just hadn't seen the movie, so I just thought, oh, okay, this is a movie that it would be sensible for a small child to have an action figure. No, it is not.
It's way bloodier than, it's rated X. It's like rated X. It's higher rated than the Alien
I know that now.
Yeah. But, like, there's also, like, speaking, like, because they were trying to market things towards children with the Alien franchise. Like, there was, like, an Alien 3 video game. There's, like, a lot of Alien, like, video games from the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
Yep.
So, like, having a kid in the franchise kind of makes sense for it going forward. But, like, this just goes a completely different direction.
Yeah. I mean, I think that... Again, I have very little bad to say about Aliens, if anything. I think that was the right decision for that sort of movie. Like, wanting to be more of a horror still, but action movie, incorporating, like, I don't know, like, someone to, like, to root for.
Yeah, someone to root for, which this movie kind of does not really have as much of.
Does it have this?
Yeah.
You got to remember that, like, one of the lines the characters introduced himself when Ripley tries to introduce himself is, "You don't want to know me. Yeah. I'm a murderer and rapist of women," or something like that. Yeah. That's an actual line that this guy says.
And he's the one of the most likable people in the movie.
Other than Charles Dance, yeah. He's the most likable person in the movie.
Also, insane that Charles Dance, Tywin Lannister himself, is the most likable, like, non-Ripley person. No, I think he's more likable than Ripley in this movie.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I can't remember what his character's name is right at this second.
Clemens.
That's it.
Yeah. I wrote it down, but for the most part of my notes, I just referred to him as Charles Dance.
That's fair. I made a point of trying to, like, remember some of, like, the other characters' names, but for some reason he just entered my brain and then left my brain.
So another big problem with Alien 3 is that it's Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, is Charles S. Dutton as he plays Dylan. Dylan, yep. And he's black. Everyone else is some white, bald Englishman.
Yes.
And with very similar looking faces.
Yes, it is kind of funny. There's one guy that gets a head band-aid halfway through, so you can kind of tell who that guy is. Yeah. But everybody else, from a distance, looks similar. Yeah.
And, like, Holt McElhaney's character, he has, like, a teardrop tattoo on his eye, but, like, other than that, like, there's no distinguishing features. Not even, like, you know, a big scar across someone's eye or something like that, or something to really be able to tell them apart. Or, like, different outfits even. Everyone's wearing, basically, Weyland-Yutani prisoner outfits.
Yeah, and, I mean, part of it, they justify it by saying they have I think they said there was a lice outbreak or something like that, but you, in an earlier script of the movie, there was, Ripley was going to encounter a bunch of space monks, and I think they tried to keep some of that element here, so having all these prisoners be, like, kind of like uniforms, depersonalized space monks is kind of like, I think, maybe what they were going for.
So definitely a remnant of that script.
But from a practical movie perspective, tracking who's who, I mean...
It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah. It's much easier once a lot of them get killed off. You see less of them, but still, like, it's hard to really grasp on these characters as much as, like, Aliens, where there's a lot of, like, space marines, but all their different quirks and ticks, to the point where they became stock characters. Like, Halo, those games completely ripped off Aliens completely. Like, the Sergeant in Halo is based on, what's-his-face in Aliens, down to his complete design.
Oh, they're literally the same character.
Look
up Sergeant Apone and look up Sergeant Johnson from Halo. They are the same character.
Get tactical, Marines! Hoorah! But they're easier to tell apart, despite them being all in one uniform. Alien 3 does not really have that. You can't really do that with the characters. Which is, I think it's a very interesting choice. It kind of homogenizes everyone, but also, like, if you're going to the movies, like, who the fuck were any of those people?
It also, I think, of living characters that you see on screen, I think it is a larger cast than both Alien and Aliens put together.
Yeah, I think they say that,
there was 27 prisoners, is what they said at one point in the movie, I think. It was something like that.
Yeah.
And Alien had, I guess if you count the cat, 8. And Aliens was not that many. I don't know exactly how many it was.
A lot of the big Marine squad dies pretty fast. One thing I think it's the French title for Alien is The Eighth Passenger.
Yep. But it doesn't count the cat.
It does not count the cat. But that is such a cool title for a movie.
Yes, it is.
I really dig that. Speaking of the first Alien, so we should probably talk about the Alien history a little bit in case someone here has not heard these movies, but I think it's interesting to go through how Alien was made and how Aliens was made to make sense of how Alien 3 is the way that it is. So the original Alien was made by Fox in 1979, after the Star Wars sci-fi boom. Like, it was one of the first scripts that was just on their desk, like, okay, we just made Star Wars, what do we do next? So they made Alien, they got Ridley Scott to direct it. People liked it when it came out, they were kind of iffy, but like now it's considered one of the best movies of all time, which we talked about. It made a lot of money, so of course there were immediate talks to make a sequel. There were some struggles to get it off the ground. Fox believed the success of Alien was an anomaly. They didn't think they could recreate it. A lot of horror movies were not doing that great in the box office too. So Fox, when they're trying to justify the lack of a sequel, they used some dastardly Hollywood accounting tactics and declared Alien to be a financial loss.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow.
So they claimed that despite it making $100 million at the box office, the movie actually lost $10 million. Which they do some bullshit tactics, which is like, oh, actually we had to pay this subsidiary company this thing, we had to like pay this person this thing. Usually Hollywood accounting is to really fuck over residuals for like back-end contracts. But yeah, so they declared it to be a financial loss, and the production company, Brandywine Productions, they have control of the franchise. They're still the ones that produce Alien movies to this day. They successfully sued Fox in 1983, and as part of the settlement was that they would have to make an Alien sequel. So Ridley Scott claims he was never asked to return for the sequel to Alien. So they're asking around different directors, and of course James Cameron comes in the mix. And James Cameron has that legendary pitch for the film. You've heard of this, right?
If I have, I'm a little bit stupid right now, so why don't you refresh my memory?
So he walked into a boardroom of executives. There's a whiteboard on the wall.
I do know what this is. Never mind.
It's incredible, isn't it? He said this is a true story. James Cameron has confirmed this. So he walks with a whiteboard, writes Alien on the whiteboard. He then writes, okay, it's Alien, sure, we're doing that. And there was S after it. Okay, more than one aliens. And then he turns that S into a $sign.
Oh my!
And with that,
awesome.
They greenlit his pitch. Simple enough. First movie, Alien 1, it has one alien in it. Aliens with multiple aliens in it. It'll make more money. And it did.
Yeah, it did.
And James Cameron, of course, is James Cameron. So the shoot for Aliens was difficult.
I would guess that. It probably didn't drown anybody or try to drown anybody this time.
No one got drowned. There's water scenes, of course, with Newt there, but she actually she drowns in this movie, not that movie.
I know, but I just remember some other movies he's filmed. He tried to drown people.
Oh, The Abyss, yeah,
yes.
The Abyss. And I just heard that The Abyss. You've seen The Abyss, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently, The Abyss got removed from Disney Plus because of that scene where they have that mouse drown in the water.
So I actually know this because maybe 6 months ago I was trying to watch the movie, and I just couldn't find it anywhere.
Is it not on Disney Plus here either?
No.
I heard it was a UK thing. That's shit.
No, it's not. No, it isn't. But anyway.
Well, I have it on a standard definition DVD over there if you want to borrow it.
I did eventually find a way. I did eventually find a way to watch it.
Okay, good. Yeah. But it's James Cameron drowning things and people. That's a pretty common thing. So it was travel production. James Remar, he was Dexter's father in the show Dexter. He was the initial casting for Hicks. He was arrested for drug possession and was fired. He was replaced by Michael Biehn. I need to actually look up which scenes they are, but apparently there's some scenes in the movie where it's Hicks from behind. They're actually James Remar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they were into filming when he was booted from the film. So Michael Biehn was a last-minute addition. And Michael Biehn previously worked with James Cameron in Terminator. And Sigourney Weaver, who plays Ellen Ripley, she returned in the first film in the lead role. Apparently it was a very lengthy negotiation, and she was almost written out of the movie entirely, so it wasn't going to be about her.
I heard, again, when I was doing research for Alien 3, that because a lot of the original scripts for Alien 3 did not have Ripley in it, because they ended up with the script for Aliens involving Sigourney Weaver before they had actually signed her onto the project, so she was able to, use that for negotiating, payment. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I read,
yeah.
So...
Yeah, she was savvy with all these. She got paid a lot of money for each movie. Yeah. A lot of the others weren't paid a ton. Michael Biehn says this funny thing in the Alien 3. There's a fantastic making of documentary called Wreckage and Rage, the making of Alien 3. It's 2.5 hours long. It's fascinating. Michael Biehn says that he's not in this movie, but his likeness is for one photograph.
Yep.
Apparently he got paid just as much for that one photograph in Alien 3 that he did the entirety of Aliens.
Yes, I heard that as well.
Yeah. But also instead of aliens, there was a coup on the set. So filming in Pinewood, they filmed at Aliens at Pinewood Studios in England. Alien 3 is also filmed there as well. James Cameron's American crew clashed with the British crew. James Cameron has his own particular vision how to do things. His first assistant director disagreed, so there's a lot of people are walking off the set and such. And so they eventually came to an agreement over working hours and who was really in charge. And James Cameron also ultimately said this with the Pinewood Studios crew. Again, Pinewood Studios where they filmed Alien 3. So, James Cameron said this to the crew. This has been a long and difficult shoot, fraught by many problems, but the one thing that kept me going through it all was a certain knowledge that one day I would drive out the gate of Pinewood and never come back, and that you sorry bastards will still be here.
That is pretty great.
I fucking love James Cameron. I would hate to work with him. I'd probably hate to meet him, but his exploits and stories are so funny.
I guess that's just who they choose for Alien movie directors, then?
Yeah, just guys with particular particular vision, which I like.
Yeah, that is handy.
Yeah.
But it definitely ties into this one, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess a general quick synopsis of Alien and Aliens, for anyone who's not really know, which kind of got set the table for where Alien 3 was when they're starting to develop this. So, Alien is set in the future in space, where a blue-collared crew working for a soulless corporation, they find an egg on a planet. The egg latches onto a crew member's face, it impregnates him with an alien that explodes out of his chest and matures very quickly into an alien that we call the xenomorph. It's a black biomechanical monster designed by H.R. Geiger. It's iconic. You've probably seen it before. It slowly kills off the crew members one by one until it's just Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley alive. She's able to escape. She shoves the alien to the vacuum of space and burns it up with the ship's escape ship's engines. She goes into cryosleep. Alien 1's over. Aliens begins 57 years later when she's woken up from cryosleep. She is woken by the employees of the company she works for, which is called Weyland-Yutani. They are the evil corporation in the series. In the special edition, there's an added scene where it's revealed that she had a daughter that died of old age while she was asleep. Which is not in the theatrical cut. Which is
that only in the special edition?
Only in special edition.
Interesting, because I think it definitely plays a lot into, like, they definitely go treat Newt as a very, like, adopted daughter vibe, and I think that I mean, Ripley's supposed to be a good person, right? Even if she's not introduced as such in the original Alien, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But I sort of thought that what they were going for is like, oh, her daughter died of old age because she was in cryosleep for so many years. She's got these like residual feelings that they get passed on to this other character. But that was cut out of the.
It's cut out of the theatrical cut. It's only in James Cameron's like director's cut.
Really, that's a weird omission on par with like cutting out Saruman out of Return of the King.
I know, right? It's like you have an obvious plot point for like a 2-minute scene. It's kind of like I think like maybe they thought it was too depressing or something like that.
Fair enough.
I forget the logic for why they cut it out, but Sigourney Weaver has some thoughts. I'll get into that in a second about that. Weyland-Yutani, they dealt her claims about the events in the first film. In the decades since the first film, they've established a colony on this planet where they found the alien egg. They've lost contact with the colony, so they get Ripley to help them find out what happened. Her and a whole crew of Space Marines, which includes Michael Biehn playing Hicks, and their android servitor Bishop, played by Lance Henriksen. They go down to the surface, realize there's a ton of these aliens down there. Most colonists are dead, so they find one survivor who's a 10-year-old girl who's nicknamed Newt. Ripley acts as a mother figure towards her. It's revealed that Weyland-Yutani wants to collect this alien xenomorph for bioweapon research purposes. The Marines get killed off. The aliens take Newt away to an alien queen in the facility. Ripley gets her back, but the Queen stows away on her ship, the Sulaco. I think it's pronounced Sulaco.
Yeah.
Ripley fights the Queen, shoves her through an airlock in space. They all go to hypersleep for a return trip to Earth. It's a happy ending.
Hooray!
So that's where we're at the franchise right now for Alien 3 gets into production. So Aliens rocks. I love that movie. It got great reviews. It was up for a surprising amount of Oscars, including a lead actress for Sigourney Weaver, which like never happens for horror movies.
Well, I mean, it's not quite as much in the horror. I mean, it is a horror movie, but it's not quite as much in the horror movie space in terms of how it's shot and how it's. Yeah. But maybe that had something to do with that, or I don't know. I mean, her performance was outstanding.
Yeah, but also like it's rare for a sci-fi movie to get nominated ever
that is
for
true.
Anything. Yeah,
that is true.
Like the closest, sometimes they'll say like, "Oh, like Shape of Water is a sci-fi movie," but like, it's it's sort of, I guess, if you by some definitions of it. But like, it's rare for any science fiction things to even get a nod. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I mean, Avatar. Maybe it's just a James Cameron thing.
Maybe it's just a James Cameron thing. Yeah, very true. It's considered, of course, like people liked it at the time, but now people consider it an absolutely fantastic movie, one of the best sequels ever made, and it made a lot of money. So of course they're trying to make a third Alien movie. So here's where things get a little bit rocky. So first off, Walter Hill and David Giller, who run Brandywine Productions, they were hesitant to do a sequel because they didn't want to just repeat the first two movies. They initially planned a 2-part story with Ripley not being in the third film. It said Michael Biehn as Hicks would be the lead. Weaver wanted a smaller part anyway because she was pissed at Fox because they cut those scenes of her being a mother from Aliens. Ridley Scott was also too busy to return, so he didn't come back to do the third part. James Cameron did not want to do another Alien movie, so they were they're in limbo looking for directors while figuring out a script. William Gibson, the author of Neuromancer, great book, was approached by Brandywine. He summarized his idea for a movie as space commies hijack alien eggs, big problem in Mall World.
If you are interested, I don't know if Brian's about to say this, but the script that he wrote is available on Audible as an audiobook. Mm-hmm. I haven't listened to it. I just know that it exists. So
there's also a novelization that was done of it, as well as a comic book adaptation.
yeah.
So this, apparently the script's out there online too. Apparently it's pretty solid. I have not, if I had more time, I would have actually checked this one out a little bit more, because it sounds like it could be interesting.
Yeah, I had actually, I had meant to check it out. I just kind of ran out of time. I did think originally that we were going to do this a little bit later in the year, but so it was on my list of Alien 3 related things to do.
Yeah.
But I didn't get there. So.
I had a very specific window opening up for time, because we're recording this a little bit early, because I'm going to the Forest City Film Festival next week, or actually this weekend. That's going to go for a full week, so... And timing worked out where Ben was able to graciously come on for this episode at pretty short notice.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. And so this script, we don't have Ripley would just be in a coma the whole time, but the face hugger that's attached to this Sulaka and the escape, the face hugger that the alien queen just laid there would get onto this shopping mall space station, and then of course Hicks teams out the survivors on board the space station to fight off the aliens. And then everyone realized, like, hey, humanity should stick together. We have a common enemy, which was set up a fourth movie where they go to the alien homeworld to destroy them. A lot of the times, these scripts, they, like, not for this one, but a lot of scripts for future alien movies always involve trying to find the alien homeworld, which is something they never do.
Yeah.
Even in, like, Prometheus and Covenant, like, it's unsure, did they come to Xenomorph? Because, like, the ship they find in the first Alien movie had been there for thousands of years, which is before the timeline of...
Yes, I mean, in these plots when you involve like an extinct elder race creating something, and then in Alien Covenant, maybe you go to their homeworld, maybe you don't, and maybe that's just like a colony or something like that. It's hard to pin it down, and maybe to an extent it's more interesting if you don't fully pin it down.
I fully agree with that, yeah.
So, like, it's nice to have some answers, but, like, to be drip-fed answers.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, like, one of my favorite science fiction tropes of all time is, like, extinct alien race archaeology.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, in your Halos and your StarCraft and your many other science fiction media, it just... That trope gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
And even here I am saying, we shouldn't actually have an answer to this.
100%, I totally agree with that. And the producers did not like this version of that William Gibson came up with, because they found kind of lacking a lot of human emotion and feeling to it. So at this point, they had the director Rennie Harlin attached to make the movie. He also did Die Hard 2, Die Harder, Long Kiss Goodnight, Cutthroat Island. He's a director of a lot of some decent movies, none really great, but a bunch of terrible ones too. So Rennie Harlin and William Gibson were asked to do rewrites, but Gibson wasn't getting along with the producers, so he ended up leaving production. Eric Red, who wrote the movie Near Dark, came on board. This script had all our survivors dying right away, including Ripley. The main action would take place in a biodome in space that resembled a small American town, and the townsfolk would fight hordes of aliens.
All right.
Brandywine rejected this idea because it deviated too much from their initial ideas that they wanted to do for the movie. David Twohy, who was the guy who would later make the Riddick movies, which I've only seen Pitch Black, he signed on. And by this point, so Alien 3 comes out in 1992. So this has been, I'm not sure the specific year when he signs on this, but like a lot of the Cold War and fall of communism metaphors are kind of go through with the space communists and the mall world thing. That's kind of being old news at this point. So trying to ditch all the Cold War and communism allegories that are in previous drafts. So he came up with the idea of a prison planet. And in this prison planet, the prisoners would be used for illegal experimentations by the company. Rennie Harlin believed this is too close to the previous movies, so he left the project. Because the script didn't have Ripley in it, Fox decided that maybe not having Ripley is the reason why this isn't working properly. So they gave her a phone call. They offered her $4 million to appear in Alien 3 plus a share of the box office. And so Weaver's demands were the movie had to be original and not dependent on guns. Which, there are no guns in Alien 3. And it's definitely original.
It's even a plot point in Alien 3 that they have not even no guns, almost nothing that can even conceivably be used as a weapon.
Mm-hmm. They have skivs for shanking people, and they have axes. And
one guy's got an axe, yeah.
Which is pretty good limitation for them to have to amp up the horror. Writer and director Vincent Ward was asked to come up with his own script, and he was hired to direct the film. David Twohy, he found out that Fox was asking other people to write this movie, so he was pissed off, so he left the project. Ward's idea was for the prison planet or space station to have a wooden interior where Luddite monks lived. They saw Ripley to be a good omen, but having a woman amongst the monks, they saw it as a religious trial that the alien was trying to punish them for their sins to avoid further temptations and their issues in life. In this draft, Ripley died in the end after sacrificing herself. Fox hated this idea because it kills sequel potential. Weaver then said, hey, I will only do this movie if I die. And the wooden planet made production designers and producers very weary. They thought it was going to be pretty hard to pull off. The producers were feared that it's going to come across as not very commercial and too artsy. So then Fox came to Ward and started making a bunch of demands for changes, and Ward refused a bunch of them, so he got fired. So Walter Hill and David Giller of Brandy Buck, they just started melding some of the scripts together, and they were rushed. Fox gave a date for when they wanted this movie to be released. So the script was unfinished, and it was time for film production to begin. So Fox hires music video director David Fincher to direct the film. The producers thought a young director was someone that they could control.
Yeah, that worked out for them.
Yep. David Fincher is a perfectionist.
Yes. I would say that about him.
There's some special features for Panic Room where he's going through some scenes there. He point out a corner of a screen I need this part to be 215 starker. He's that particular of knowing exactly what he wants visually. So having someone with that kind of perfectionism is not going to work out well if you have meddling producers.
I think I know where you're going with this discussion, so I don't want to get too much into it. But Alien 3 has one of the most iconic shots in the franchise that you see online. He very rarely comments on the movie these days, but he's commented on that shot, and his basic shot was that it was crap and he could do better.
Yeah. And it might be Alien's iconic movies, but they don't have an iconic shot that good.
No.
Alien is probably the best shot in the franchise. It's so great.
Yeah, and David Fincher's comment about that was basically, it's crap, I can do better.
Yeah.
I can do better now.
Oh,
so that just sets you up to the sort of person that we're dealing with.
Yeah. So before we get into the movie itself, we're talking about the assembly cut today. So what that is that so David Fincher ultimately disowned the movie entirely, and it was cut to shreds. Alien 3 is it's a hatchet job. In 2003, Fox put together the Alien Quadrilogy home video box set, which we talked about a little bit before. We both have variations of it ourselves. Ridley Scott was asked to come up with a revised edit for Alien, which he did, which isn't as good. James Cameron already had a special edition of Aliens that he released to theaters back in the early 90s. And Jean-Pierre Jeunet came up with a different cut for Alien Resurrection, which isn't as good. And Fincher refused to participate in this project. So editor and documentarian Charles de Lazarica organized Fincher's shot footage into an assembly cut, where scenes are basically just put into order.
There's definitely some unfinished audio in there.
Yeah, a lot of unfinished audio that they actually fixed for the 2010 Blu-ray release.
Okay, well, when we were preparing for this, I was watching my copy, which was the original DVD release. Mm-hmm. So I experienced those, and I think you were watching the Blu-ray, so maybe you didn't.
Yeah. How noticeable is the unfinished audio?
It's not too jarring, but it's noticeable that it exists. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can go back and forth, and apparently this is more controversial than I thought it was when I looked online. But generally speaking, even in spite of those warts, the assembly cut's probably the better cut of the movie for reasons I'm sure we'll get into later. Mm-hmm. But there is definitely some unfinished special effects. There is some unfinished audio. There's some unfinished yada yada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the assembly cut, I think it makes it more interesting movies. It fleshes out a lot more of the interesting parts to it. But it doesn't... A lot of the issues people have with Alien 3 are not going to be saved by a longer version of the movie.
No, and it's interesting, too, because the assembly cut, I think, is 2 hours and 20 minutes long or something like that, which mm-hmm. was for the time it came out in 1992. That's a long movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they wanted to cut it shorter so they could fit more screen times at multiplexes to get more ticket sales.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Alien was just about 2 hours long, and I don't know about Aliens. I think
Alien was 210, 220. It's long, yeah.
But so for the early 90s or late 80s or whatever, 2 hours and 2.5 hours is a long movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so it was in the assembly. Who knows what Fincher would have done with that cut too? Probably some scenes he would have reduced or combined together. Yeah. This is literally just them taking all the footage they had and putting it in order, which is what an assembly cut is compared to like a director's cut. Which is why you often hear like, oh, like, you know, like David Ayers is like, oh, there's like actually a 3.5, 4 hour cut of Suicide Squad out there. Like, yeah, that's just the assembly cut. That's just all the footage you shot, just put into order. Doesn't mean that should be the final product. So, so the assembly cut is the version people overall like more and talk about more. And that is the version I took notes on. On the DVD and Blu-ray that we watched, there's this indicator, there's a special feature indicator that puts a little notification on the screen whenever a scene that you're watching the assembly cut is unique to the assembly cut and not the theatrical.
Yep.
So we have a pretty good idea of what's in the theatrical. I've seen the theatrical cut a bunch of times too. So
yeah, I've seen it as well. There's some things that were added in the assembly cut, and there's some things that were modified. Mm-hmm. But again, I'm sure we'll get to that in a moment.
Let's go to the movies. Yeah, we open up with the 20th Century Fox fanfare, and then what's really cool is like that's iconic. You see it all the time, but the music started to descend into something very ominous and wrong. It goes like, and like that's a cool way to start up a movie. So it's already off kilter by the time you even get to like the opening scene there. So we're in outer space. The USS Sulaco is flying in space. In it are the 4 survivors from the previous movie in across the caskets. So we're cutting between seeing what's going on the ship there, as well as like seeing like Sigourney Weaver, Charles Dance on like the title cards there. And we see a facehugger has hatched from an egg left behind by the alien queen.
I'm just going to jump in here and say I know that almost everybody should know what this is at this point, but we've never actually described what a facehugger is. It's so like the alien species in these movies go through a few different life cycles. They end up with an egg, and then they hatch into a sort of hand-esque creature that latches onto its victim's face to impregnate it with a parasitic embryo. That thing's called a facehugger.
Yeah. And yeah, it like puts like a tube down their neck and stuff, and like if you try to remove it, it tightens its grasp on the person's head even tighter. So it's hard to remove, and if you try to cut it, the blood's acidic.
Yes, not a good fate to end up getting attacked by one of those things.
No. So this facehugger is wandering around inside the ship. There, it cracks a glass of Newt's casket. Acid starts dripping on the floor, and it causes a fire to break out on the ship. This causes the ship to put all these pods into like this little like escape pod module, which is jettisoned off the ship, and the module gets launched off for their safety towards a planet. So we see this planet is called Fury 161. It's an Outer Vale mineral ore refinery, and also a double Y chromosome work correctional facility. They don't get into what double Y chromosome is in this movie, but for supplemental materials and maybe some non-canon things. Basically, it's like a very, very ultra-violent men. Like people with like this chromosome things makes you like, I don't know, it's almost like the CTE of this world where it just makes you more violent and crazy. So the planet they crash in, so the module crashes into the water, and the planet they're at is like a desolate industrial wasteland. It's all black, dark, and nasty. There are plenty of cranes and machinery all around. The air is breathable, though. Which
it actually looks like a nicer place than the planet they go to in the original Alien movie.
Yeah, it also looks like a nicer place than the colony they're trying to get in the second movie.
I know, right? And it looks like a terrible place. Mm-hmm. So that's saying something.
It's dark and miserable, but every place in this universe is dark and miserable.
Yeah, and I mean the only other planet you see in this franchise is the like planet in Alien Romulus, and that place also looks terrible.
Yeah.
So
the planet in Alien Covenant looked okay.
Oh, sorry, yes, Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Both those planets look fine.
Prometheus planet looked like shit.
It's just Iceland.
Yeah, it's just Iceland. Yeah, but Covenant planet had a lot more things that could kill you.
Yes,
but it has some plant life to it. Speaking of Romulus, I feel like we have to tell our Alien Romulus story.
Okay, which...
When we saw Alien Romulus in the theater.
Okay.
So we saw Alien Romulus in the theater like last year, and I
remember now.
Yeah. So about like 50 minutes, an hour into the movie just stops, and the lights come on in the theater. Like, okay, this is like opening weekend, so like we get up to Ben and I. We get up and we just like walk to the flag down an employee of the theater to tell him what's going on. So we leave about to leave the auditorium and go to the hallway, and there's like
30 police officers.
There's a lot of cops hanging around, and the employee tells us like, "Okay, well, go back to your seats. Everything's good. We'll get everything resolved pretty fast." So we go back to our seats, and a couple cops come into our auditorium and ask like, "Is everyone okay here?"
And we're all just like, "Yeah."
Yeah. No one's like in danger right now. It's like, no. Like, well, someone called in a gun threat to this theater. We're like, we're all good.
Yep.
And then the cops leave. They restart the movie after a little bit, and yeah, like, you know, I joke with that. Like, you know, that was the only original thing I saw at Alien Romulus that night.
I think I was warmer on Alien Romulus than you were, but yeah, you did make that joke.
Yeah. I despise Alien Romulus. The digital necromancy really pisses me off. I don't think there's any original things to it at all. The one thing with Alien Romulus, I just think with Alien 3, is that Alien Romulus copies from every other Alien movie, but not really Alien 3 at all.
It does take plot points that show up in many of the other movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I did say at the beginning of this conversation that I'm an apologist for this series.
Yeah.
So, but it was definitely the least original of the feature-length movies in the franchise.
Yeah. Like, it kind of makes sense, though, because if you're trying to do, like, you know, a back-to-basics, quote-unquote, there's no... this franchise is so, like, shapeless that, like, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yes.
But, if you're trying to, like, Alien 3 being a black sheep, you're trying to get people, like, back on board with this franchise, people like Alien 1 and Aliens, you're going to reject Alien 3, the one that everyone hates because they killed off their favorite characters.
So, I don't know what element of Alien 3 you would particularly take from that movie other than the alternate variant alien creature that shows up in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because other than that, it... given the plot structure of Alien Romulus, it's really hard to take like any cues from the like prison setting or anything like that. So,
they found a way to get some alien resurrections things in there, though.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that plot point kind of didn't work in Alien Resurrection either. So,
nope. But at least that cute little alien, disgusting baby getting sucked out the window there was pretty awesome.
Oh, you know what an interesting bit of trivia is? Mm-hmm. So if you count the original 4 Alien movies, because there was a bit of a hiatus after that before you got into the other ones, Alien 3 is the only one where nothing gets sucked out in an airlock.
Yeah, which is nice. It's refreshing.
Yes. I was thinking about that when I was watching it the other day, and I was like, this is the only one of these up until of the original run, we'll call it. I mean, there was this several year gap between each of these movies, so whether it's a run or not is up for debate, but... where nothing gets sucked out in an airlock.
Yeah. Like, there's so many different ways you can actually kill this alien. Like, mind you, in Aliens, there's so many guns that they would just blast these things away. Like, they're a lot weaker. But, like, it still ends with the final showdown being the alien being sucked out in an airlock.
Yes, it does.
But, like, I feel like there should be a lot more creativity in how you can actually kill this thing. And I think they come up with a really creative way to kill this thing at the end of the movie. Yeah. So there's a bald English actor, the first 1 million, who's walking around. He finds Ripley's body washed up on the shore, covered in, like, worms and stuff. There's a lot of bugs and lice.
Yes, there are.
He carries her back to the facility, and there's even more bald Englishmen there. The main guy who rescued Ripley is Jonathan Clemens. He's played by Charles Dance from Game of Thrones, of course. He sends the other men to search for survivors, so they peek around inside this module, and Corporal Hicks is dead. His head is crushed into a bloody mess.
So when I hinted that he was very dead earlier, that's what I meant.
Yeah. And there's bugs feasting on his corpse. Newt is dead too. We find out that she drowned with the crack in the window there when she fell in the water. That she just drowned. She drowned in the cryptosleep casket. So yeah, this movie opens up with 2 beloved characters dying very horrible deaths, and then the men drag the remains of the ship with an ox back to their facility. And Ripley's being treated by Clemens, the doctor, Charles Dance, and we see Dylan, who's played by Charles S. Dutton. He's leading the men in a sermon. Dutton is awesome in this movie. Yeah, it's a really good performance.
He is probably, and it's such a shame if you do not watch the assembly cut that a lot of his best scenes were cut down, were either cut down or removed. Like that speech he gives at the end there. More than half of that speech is an assembly cut only thing.
Yeah, he's so good at it, and like and because he's a black man, he stands out against all these other bald white men.
Yes.
So he really actually has he has glasses too, so he also has that distinguishing feature as well. Charles S. Dutton as an actor, he actually he had 2 stints in jail when he was younger. Once for manslaughter for killing someone in a knife fight, and then once for breaking his parole by punching a cop or something. So he spent a long time in jail himself, and he started he became a rehabilitated man by studying theater while he was in prison. And so there's a lot of this movie that's actually his life, kind of being a prisoner trying to find salvation. So it comes across as really authentic. Not a lot of the other performances kind of have this kind of real feeling to them.
No.
And it's got a bit of energy because, like, Ripley, of course, is miserable because, she's now on her third alien adventure she does not want to be on in the span of, like, in her mind, it's been, like, what, like, a couple months?
Yeah.
Because Alien 1 happens, and then she gets into crypto sleep, and then she, like, wakes up in Alien 2. She might have, like, a few weeks off, and then she's, like...
Back to cryosleep, back to the planet, back to more aliens.
Yeah.
Then back into cryosleep, then...
Yeah.
Then this.
Yeah. This is not a great couple months for her, from her perspective.
No.
So, the men in this prison are being told the situation by Dylan, and there's another guy named Morse who brings up that they've all taken a vow of celibacy, and that includes women. So, like, there's already threats of, like, rape, even amongst the men towards one another. The gender imbalance is very crucial to the unease of this film, I think. Like, Dylan says that a woman being in the mix will disrupt the harmony they've built for themselves on this world.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that Brian sort of started to hint at, too, and I think I mentioned earlier on in the discussion before we got this far, they've almost, like, come up with, like, led by Dylan, a religious, like, organization there, so I think they're recycling something. When you said they kit bashed a whole bunch of the other scripts together, I think this is trying to keep a lot of the monk stuff earlier that they had in.
Yeah, in this religion, like, Charles Dance describes it later on, is basically, it's like, an apocalyptic Christian religion where basically, like, they're basically just, like, waiting for the end times. Like, they're not really, they don't plan on leaving the planet. They're happy where they are. They're just waiting for their own death. They're waiting for their own salvation through God.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because it was mentioned at one point that they're kind of a skeleton crew. Like, the planet and the facility that they're working at had a much larger contingent of workers at one point, but was mothballed at one point. So they're kind of they're keeping the lights on, but they're not really... it's not really working how it's supposed to anymore. So an apocalyptic religion coming out of basically being stuck there in prison in this facility designed for hundreds more people than are in it is in a way fitting.
Yeah, and, like, this is like the ass end of the universe, and, like, now we have a woman thrown into the mix, plus an alien that wants to eat and murder everyone.
Yes. It's the ass end of the universe, but they all have, like... London British accents. Yeah. Every single one of them.
Yeah, do you think they, like, isolated them to this one planet because of their accents? Do you think there was, like, like an Australian prisoner, they was like, oh yeah, you're going to... actually, no, we have an Italian prison complex on this side of the galaxy. Yes. For all you mega violent, double Y chromosome Italians, you go to this world. You actually have to deal with the Predator, though, not the alien. Well, that's my pitch for a Predator movie. Italian prison world.
Oh, no. You know what? We don't know anything about Predator Badland yet. Maybe that's what it's about.
Maybe that's where it takes place, yeah. Maybe. I think it's supposed to be like a Predator planet.
It looks like it takes place in space.
Yeah. So maybe it is like it's the Italian prison colony. Because this place is it's mothballed, but it's kind of functional, they send a distress beacon back to Weyland-Yutani to pick her up. Everyone wants her gone, but, like, they're keeping the infirmary until she gets rescued. Not seen a woman in years. One are kind of confined there. Charles Dance is training Ripley and gives her the rundown of, like, how this whole place works. Basically, all it is right now is just an active lead works refinery, but, like, it's just barely functioning. She will have to shave her hair due to lice. He even says, like, she has to shave her own pubes herself too. The lice problem we can see that the lice problem is pretty bad. We see a lot of bugs in this movie.
Yes, I mean, in that segment, they just open a random pipe later, and it's just full of bugs for some reason. So, I don't know. This planet's got some problems.
Yeah, it's gross. So he's the one that breaks the news that she's alone, and she's the complete lone survivor. It's kind of fun watching Charles Dance do some more sympathetic, kind of more thoughtful performance, rather than, like, Tywin Lannister is such a hard-ass.
I'm going to say I'm not hugely familiar with his body of work outside of Game of Thrones and a few other properties. So, like, this is such a different character from Tywin Lannister that, like... Yeah, it's clearly him, but, like, I don't know.
He's been typecast as a kind of a hard-ass British guy. Like, he's often plays, like, a British, like, commanding officer. Like, I think that's what he did in Imitation Game. He plays, I saw it tip, but the new Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie.
Oh, he's in that.
He plays Victor Frankenstein's father.
Oh, interesting. I still would really like to see that.
It's a great movie, yeah.
I love everything that man puts out, so...
And
Guillermo del Toro, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Charles Dance is a really good actor. So Ripley asks to see the ship as she crashed on the planet there. So she kind of examines, the wreckage and told about how Newt drowned. So she sees acid burns on the cryosleep casket, and she's kind of cagey what's going on. She's not telling everyone that she thinks there's, like, an alien situation happening. So she immediately demands to go to the morgue to see Newt, because she expects alien shenanigans happening. So Ripley kind of feels around Newt's body, checks her mouth. She knows what the xenomorphs and facehuggers can do, and fears that something's inside of her. So this is when she demands the autopsy. And Charles Dance is kind of like, okay, sure, I guess I'll do this to calm your nerves, but like, what's going on? Because like, we know. What I like about this movie too is like, it doesn't over explain everything we know about the previous Alien movies. It expects us to have seen aliens to know like what the life cycle of the alien is, what we should fear, what we should not fear.
Yep. Yeah. I think in a way, like, it makes sense that she doesn't, like, she just met this guy. She doesn't trust this guy.
Mm-hmm.
But she's definitely asking a lot from him right off the bat.
Yeah. Also, like, in this Weyland-Yutani prison colony, so like she does not trust that company at all at this point, for good reason.
No, I mean they've shown no reason to trust them at this point.
Yeah. And her basic excuse for cutting open Newt is like, oh, she might have a contagion, like cholera or something, and like he's like, well, cholera's been extinct for how many years, or whatever, and so like Charles Dance sees through the lie, but he does the autopsy anyway. So we see this little like dummy doll of Newt there, and like getting like kind of like, it's not as bloody as sounds like the original cut for it was that was screened initially.
A lot of the autopsy in the even in the assembly cut happens off screen.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it's Sigourney Weaver's reactions, which she is fantastic at, showing how like gross this is, and like the one part where like he brings up like she wants him to check out the chest cavity, so like he grabs out the bone saw and cracks it open, and it's nasty.
Yeah, I would. My bad sound effects earlier were trying to sort of hint at what it sounds like in the movie.
Oh, that's what it was. Was that one of the bad sound effect scenes?
No, it worked. No, my bad sound effects.
Yeah.
When I went earlier, that's sort of
it's nasty.
It's intense. It's intense.
Mm-hmm. But there's no chest burster just sitting inside of her, so that's a relief to Ripley. And Ripley's a little bit cagey what she's actually looking for. We meet Andrews, who plays the superintendent. We meet Andrews, who's the superintendent. He's bothered by Ripley wandering the facility, and like Ripley's like, "You got to burn the bodies," and she's like, "Well, you know, he doesn't really want to do this right away. Like, why not wait till this a supply ship's going to come in like 6 months, as well as the rescue ship for Ripley's going to show up at some point." So they're all wondering like, why the rush on this whole thing. Charles Dance like helps her out. So like, okay, we should burn the bodies to help like, for the sake of public health, so people don't get infected with something. And Andrews puts the fear in Ripley here. It says like, just because these child molesters, rapists, and murderers have found religion doesn't make them safe people to be around. And so meanwhile we see a couple of men who are dragging a dead ox covered in lice back to like a slaughterhouse, and they're talking while dealing with the ox. They're talking like, oh, what would you do if you got a chance to talk to a woman like Ripley? So saying some very sexually explicit things, and they say this ox just keeled over and died. They don't know why this ox died, but those chop it up and throw it into a stew. And then one of the guys just finds like a body of a facehugger in the back there. Not sure what it is.
Just a clarification on the life cycle of a facehugger. When they implant the embryo into their victim, I believe they're meant to die shortly thereafter. Mm-hmm. Though there would have to be two maybe that movie contradicts that, because there would have to be two facehuggers otherwise. Mm-hmm. Because there's one that infects somebody on the ship,
mm-hmm.
and then there's this one.
Yeah, there would have to be two, right?
There would have to be two.
Yeah.
Maybe there was another one on the ship.
Yeah. We don't really see the full thing quite.
Yeah. I don't know. Interesting. But up until, at the very least, up until this movie, after they've passed on their embryo into the host, mm-hmm. they die.
Yeah. And the idea is that this alien queen was like laying eggs before she was chasing Ripley, and this alien queen just like laid eggs on the ship as during the final confrontation in the second movie. Just
a casual stop to lay eggs break.
Yeah.
As one does.
Yeah. That's what chickens do all the time, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually one of the biggest differences between the assembly cut and the theatrical cut. Is in the assembly cut it is an ox, whereas facehuggers aliens gestating inside. So we'll see. Within the theatrical cut, though, it's a dog. It's like a Rottweiler.
Yeah. I think that's actually, generally speaking, I think the assembly cut is better. I think the dog was a better idea.
Mm-hmm.
People generally like dogs better, so like in terms of like gross out horror movies, say, take case, it's a little more unsettling than an ox carcass.
So the initial idea with the ox is that H.R. Geiger was hired for about 11 months to come up with all these crazy designs for an alien for this movie. In the first couple movies, the aliens you see all come out of human beings. So they all have like human characteristics. So they walk on like 2 legs and such. They kind of crawl around with a little more human dimensions to them.
The teeth too.
Teeth too, yeah. Very very human looking. His idea was that he came up with designs like it became like an ox kind of thing. An alien would kind of be like more on all fours, a bit bigger, bulkier, and stiffer. So it'll be a different kind of thing. They can run faster, but like it's also like kind of big and bulkier. So you see a lot of his crazy designs, but he came up with a lot of ideas for different kinds of aliens. So they kind of ran this ox design a little bit. The all four alien that runs on all fours is what they were really going for. The problem was that as Geiger's come up with all these designs and the production designers started like, doing all kinds of like puppet and effects work, they still didn't have a script yet. So eventually they had all these great ideas like, okay, well, we got to start working on the puppets, we got to work on the models. We'll figure a script later, so we're going to stick this one ox design without actually finalizing it fully. Both the dog and the ox chest burster, like, the idea is that basically it's on 4 legs and can run a bit faster. But it doesn't, you're right, it does look more like a dog than it does a...
Yeah, it's very spindly.
Yeah.
Compared to, I would expect something that can, like, I mean, obviously it's an alien creature that's just adapting some of the DNA of its host, but I would imagine something that came out of an ox to be a little bit more solid than we got in the final thing. But I wasn't, when I said that I liked the dog better, I wasn't even talking about like the final alien design. I was just talking about like conceptually, people like dogs.
Yeah. And that absolutely, yeah. People, again, that's also probably another reason why people don't like this movie either, because you kill a kid, you kill a dog.
Yep.
But that's one thing I kind of wish the other alien movies do a little more like later on. Is like I guess the Alien Resurrection director's got the opening scene there with the alien xenomorph fly has a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, like it's just basically human alien xenomorphs. Like I think a lot of the expanded canon universe stuff will have like different alien kind of designs, but I haven't delved too much into that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I haven't either. I know there's a plethora of, to use the Star Wars term, extended universe material. Beyond some of the video games, I'm not very familiar with it myself.
Yeah, it feels like you can do a lot of creative designs with it, and I don't think they've taken advantage of that with the movies quite yet. So they do a funeral for Newt and Hicks, so it's a religious ceremony. They toss their bodies to a blast furnace, and as they're being incinerated, we start to see something burst out of the ox. It's moving around inside, crunching, so it's like animatronics moving around this like ox puppet there. And as Dylan says, we commit these bodies to the void with a glad heart, for within each seed there is a promise of a flower. The alien just bursts right out of the ox. It's bloody, it's covered in fluids. The way they did in this did this is like for this alien design is like it was a lot of puppetry work, so they had it on blue screen. So they actually had like a puppet they're moving around with like all kinds of rods, 3 or 4 people doing it. And then they would rotoscope it onto the film into a different scene. The funny thing about Alien 3 is a lot of people complain about how shitty the CGI is.
Yeah, I was actually one of those people until I was doing the research for this. Apparently there's very, very little actual CGI in the movie.
Yeah, the CGI they basically did for this movie is they added shadows to some of the puppets, and that was it.
Yeah.
Everything else is it's poorly composited puppet work to like other bits of film.
Yeah, on the rod puppet on a green screen and the which is I mean in some ways it still kind of looks bad.
It does not look great. Yeah, but I can tell why Fincher hates it.
So there's a definite difference between the scenes where you see like part of the puppet. It seems like it's very well done, and then scenes where you see the whole puppet running. Those are the ones that typically it looks a lot worse.
Yeah,
because like keep in mind we talked about that iconic scene. That is still the same friggin' puppet as is running around in other places, and that looks great.
Yeah, it's just like. It's too bad that they didn't bring it to make it look good. If like the technology was a few years ahead, they would be able to like compose a little bit better, maybe. Yeah. But like it seemed like they were out of time, they were out of money. They just had to get something in there, and it sucks because like behind the scenes, we actually look at how they did stuff. It looks so impressive, and it just sucks that the final product it looks so bad. People think it's CGI.
Yes, I mean. One of the comments Fincher made is that they weren't making a movie; they were making a release date, and I think that's probably how this an example of how this suffered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's talking about how this variant moves around on 4 legs, and it runs off into the facility, and no one knows that it's here because no one saw this chest bursting happen.
Nope.
So even Ripley's not sure if there's an alien aboard anything right now. She just saw that one acid mark there. Other than that, she's kind of clueless. So Ripley's now shaved her head, which Fincher, I think that was one of his ideas. Like, oh, we're going to shave your head, Sigourney. Like, that's what you're going to look at for the movie. I heard some mixed stories. Like, Sigourney Weaver has some conflicting stories about her production with the movie. Sometimes she says it was a great time. Sometimes she said it was terrible. Other actors said that like she was very self-conscious because she was a producer as well. So she's kind of worried about the financials for the film.
Right.
She thought that her being bald was not a great selling point for the movie. And like I think it's a good look, but like also like it's hard to kind of sell like, here's your female action star looking androgynous, looking at all the other men, which I think works for the movie because it is about like, you are in a miserable place. You are not yourself anymore. You are on the last. You're in the middle of nowhere in space, and like this is the end of the world.
I think it signifies how grizzled she's become over the course of 4 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the very first Alien, when we meet Ripley, she's she's got a little bit of hardness to her, mostly because she's been dealing with the rest of her space trucker colleagues bitching about space trucker things. Mm-hmm. Again, this is one of my favorite movies, so when I say that, it comes from a place of love.
Yeah.
But that movie is literally like 50 minutes of space truckers bitching about getting paid before any aliens show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, I say that from a place of love,
yeah.
but that's what the movie is.
Yeah.
And then the second movie, she's sort of a consultant for these Marines that are going on and doing things. And she's cynical because she survived this thing, and she already found out one time that the company didn't care if she lived or died, and yet they're the ones who were sending her back to this colony planet. Mm-hmm. So she's very cynical, but and in this other movie, she's just kind of done. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's just kind of done with it.
She doesn't have that spark in her that we saw in the last movie. She is depressed. She's miserable. Everyone around her keeps on dying over and over. Like, there's no joy in this universe. And even when she gets off this planet, she's going to hold this misery with her to the end of days.
So from a purely marketing standpoint, which is a thing that I'm going to say that I don't understand. But anyway, from a purely marketing standpoint, I get why she might feel tentative about shaving her hair for the program, for the movie. But for the text of the movie,
it makes total sense.
It makes total sense.
Yeah. Glad she did it. So the men are suspicious about how, maybe she survived the thing because she's a woman. Like, maybe there's some bad omen there. And she overhears this. She's hearing the men say a lot of sexist things over and over. And also in this mess hall, Dylan's talking to a couple of the men who are, kind of refusing to do some work. We meet an inmate named Gullick. And Gullick's played by Paul McGann. He's probably best known for playing the 8th Doctor in Doctor Who.
Is that who that is?
Yeah. So he's in the Doctor Who movie.
I knew I had seen him somewhere else before. Okay.
I actually have not seen that movie. So
I have seen that movie. It's not great.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, kind of go back to it, but
it might be one of those things that is better in retrospect than it was when you first see it. Mm-hmm. Sort of like this movie.
Yeah, maybe I'll do the Doctor Who movie on my podcast someday.
Maybe.
Yeah. And he's considered to be the most dangerous prisoner of the colony. We learn he has a body count of 30 or something, so he's got a lot of people. Ripley tries to say some nice words to Dylan. Dylan just snaps right back at her. It's like she does not want to know him. Like, he's a murderer and rapist of women. And this is the nicest guy in the colony, other than Charles Dance.
Yeah, yeah.
So even the kinder seeming inmates are not very kind. He says back to her, we tolerate everyone, even the intolerable. We had a good place, but now temptations enter the mix, so with the appearance of a woman. So after Ripley talks to Charles Dance about how their religion functions, which we already got to, she full on asks him, are you attracted to her? And he says yes, so they sleep together, which is nice, because the one nice thing that she's gotten in the past, 3 months. And so, as they're doing that, there's a man walking down a ventilation shaft, cleaning it with a mop, and he uncovers a mound of fleshy goop, and he sees some molted skin on the ground. He's looking for his dog Spike. So, in the theatrical cut, this is the dog that the alien bursts out of. In the assembly cut, this dog is not there at all.
No, but I mean, it can still be there, or it's just a thing that they didn't edit when they did the assembly cut. Who's to say?
Yeah. So, exactly who's to say. So he finds a little smaller vent. He thinks Spike is hiding inside. And within this hole, he sees the xenomorph all curled up and spits acid at him. And this xenomorph looks awesome. It looks so cool. And This causes him to kind of fall into the fan blades and die horribly. They refer to him later on as being diced by the fans.
Yeah, so Alien 3 is, I believe, the goriest movie in the franchise, in terms of, like, blood and guts on screen. And this is, he basically just explodes.
Yeah. And, like, it's cool, because, like, basically he just gets startled and falls down. So, like, it brings up the mystery, because, like, you know, it's not obvious it's going to be a xenomorph killing people at this point in time to like, Ripley or something.
No.
Here's just some crazy religious guy who fell into a fan. They're investigating his death and everything, and, they're able to identify it was Murphy who fell in the fan by his boot, and we see like chunks of flesh sticking out of the boot. Charles Dance sees sees some acid melted metal as well, and he recognizes that it's similar to the one in the cryo tube. So he demands Ripley to provide some answers, so they can figure out what's going on. So Ripley goes to the ship and tries to find Bishop's android torso. Bishop being the android from the previous movie, to plug him into something to figure out, like, ask him some questions. She gets accosted by a trio of prisoners who try to rape her. Dylan kicks the show with a lead pipe.
He's got to re-educate some of the brothers.
Which is such a good line. We have to discuss the matters of the spirit. And he just beat the shit out of the guy with the pipe. It's awesome. Andrews has a meeting with Charles Dance. So apparently the company did message them back, and apparently Ripley is a high priority for rescue. And in a series of tunnels, we see a couple of inmates in Golic. They encounter the now full-size xenomorph, and it makes very quick work of them.
Yes.
But, like, at this point, this is the xenomorph that's in, it's like a guy in a suit. So, it's practical, and the guy moves around really well, and if they, like, bring people up and strangle them using some wire work, it looks so awesome. So Golic, he witnesses the two guys get murdered and runs away. There's blood all over his face, and he gets found in the mess hall later on, just smiling with someone else's blood. So the inmates think that Golic killed the other two people. Or
at this point, the survivors still don't know about the xenomorph.
Yeah, and Ripley's not even sure what's going on yet. So she plugs in. Ripley is talking to the head of Bishop. So it's an animatronic, which looks really cool. It looks like Lance Henriksen, and Lance Henriksen's the one speaking. So she plugs a lot of, like, tubes and stuff into him to get him to talk. There's, like, white fluid leaking everywhere because the androids bleed like white fluid. Bishop is friendly with Ripley still. Bishop says he's access to the flight recorder. Ripley asks why the pod is ejected, and Bishop repeats the warning message of the fire in the cryogenic compartment, which we heard before. So then the sensors picked up an alien on board when it was ejected. It wasn't just on the Sulaco, it was with them the entire way down to the surface to Fury 161. So, and because Weyland-Yutani sends messages directly back and forth the whole time, they're clearly aware of the detection of the alien on board the ship. So they know there's an alien on the prison planet. And Bishop, the other sort of survivor from the previous movie, he has to be disconnected permanently. He hurts. He could be reworked, but he will never be top of the line again. He'd rather be nothing.
Yep.
That's bleak and depressing.
That is bleak and depressing.
I like Bishop. And he says, do it for me, Ripley. Ripley just unplugs him. He lets a little, like, robot death rattle, like, and there goes the last friendly face from the previous movie. So when they're talking to Golic in the hall with all the blood on his face, they're trying to figure out what happened, and Golic's speaking manically about a dragon. He saw the xenomorph he refers as a dragon, and a lot of the materials when it comes to referring to this specific kind of xenomorph, they call it a dragon as well.
Yeah, I've seen it called the Runner sometimes too, but yes, dragon.
So Ripley hears this and asks Golic about this dragon, and Ripley clearly knows what it is, and Ripley tells Andrews about the xenomorph in the office, gives him the whole rundown of how this monster works. And Ripley says, like, hey, let's get some weapons. Andrews like, no, you idiot, there's no weapons here in this prison. Fear is what keeps the prisoners in line. And, like, so Ripley's shop is absolutely nothing. There's nothing but knives and axes. And she says, well, then we're fucked. So Ripley is confined to quarantine by Andrews, so she doesn't talk to everyone about this. The supply ship's going to arrive in 6 months. Rescue ship's on the way. They have no time on the right way when it's going to arrive. Ripley's not feeling great. She has a sore throat, sick to her stomach. She's pissed off. So she's terrified and not feeling too hot. Golic is muttering his insanity. He's in another bed in the infirmary as well. He keeps wondering about how everyone's going to die because he saw the xenomorph clearly killed 2 people. So Charles Dance finally gives a story about how he ended up in the prison. So apparently he was addicted to morphine as a medical student, and after a 36-hour ER stretch during his residency, he got drunk to celebrate being done. He got called back to a boiler explosion. While drunk, he fucked up and killed 11 of the 30 patients because he prescribed the wrong dosage of painkiller. So he got a 7-year stint in jail, and he would never get a good job ever again. But after serving a sentence, he just stayed in the colony, so he grew attached to the crew. And he just knew, like, he kicked his drug addiction, but he knew that he would never get a good job afterwards, so why even pretend like life is going to be good elsewhere? Just stay in this miserable hellhole.
That's a take.
Yeah. And so, like, he's about to inject her with, like, some, like, sedative or something like that, and, like, she's still willing to trust him, even after hearing a story about him fucking up the prescription of drugs there. And, so they finally get to connect to one another there, and then through a curtain, an alien grabs Charles Dance's head and brings out a second little mouth and punches into Charles Dance's skull, and blood and goo splatters everywhere. So there goes the likable guy in the prison.
Yep.
Ripley cowers against a wall on the ground, and we get the most iconic shot of the movie and maybe the franchise, which we talked about before. So, like, to the left is an alien head. It's dripping saliva. She's and she is in fear, cowering. And to the right is Ripley, just her head completely shaved, cowering in fear, sweaty and miserable. And she yells, and, like, creature gets up right close to her, and his little mouth, like, comes out a little bit, but doesn't kill her. It, like, lets her live. And she's completely horrified and confused, and then just scurries away and escapes to the ventilation.
Yeah, that's not usually the MO of these creatures, so something's clearly up.
Yeah, usually these things are not thinking, they're just killing. Yeah. They're not really even, like, they just operate on, like, do they eat people, or what do they do? Like,
this movie actually shows it eating somebody.
Yeah, I was about to say, because the first two movies don't really show them, like, feeding on people, it's just them killing.
So a lot of the times the deaths in the first two movies, like, are... The death clearly happens, but it's not too explicit on screen. Mm-hmm. In the same way that it is in this movie. Like, this movie features a lot of people getting dragged up into vents and, like, mauled. Mm-hmm. In a way that the other movies don't, so, like, the deaths are a little bit more drawn out in Alien 3. Yeah.
It could also be, like, maybe... the deaths are definitely more drawn out, but, like, it could be maybe it's because it is birthed from an ox or a dog compared to a human, that maybe they operate differently.
Maybe. But, again, this is the first time you explicitly see it eating somebody in this movie.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it does with its... You don't know what happens to its victims in the other movie. Mm-hmm. You kind of do, but... As
it escapes the ventilation, Gollux is magnificent inside the dragon. He loves what he sees with this thing. So the rest of the prisoners are holding a meeting to figure out what happened with Gollux and the two missing prisoners, trying to talk about what to do. Ripley interrupts them and says, like, hey, it's got Clemens. Charles Dance is dead. Andrews says, like, you know, like, doesn't believe her, like, you know, like, don't listen to her. She's acting crazy. And the alien just, like, picks him up in the middle of the mess hall and just, like, eats him.
Yeah, it's actually, like, I don't think this was the intent, but it's actually, in a
kind of funny
way, kind of funny.
It's hilarious. Like, yeah, like, I was like, because I was watching, taking my notes and stuff, and I went back to it a couple times, like, it's actually pretty funny. And, like, it's horrifying, because, like, he just dies, like, so quickly and abruptly, but, like...
But just the way that, like, the timing of it, and, like...
Everyone's there. So now everyone's on the exact same page, like, oh, yeah, there is something trying to eat us here. And, like, it's a guy who's an asshole, so you're not really... like, hoping he lives. And, yeah, he dies pretty horribly. Blood drips everywhere. There's that one great scene that's just in the assembly cut of, like, the guy mopping the floor later on. Yes. And he's, like, looking up, afraid that this thing was going to come back down and eat him, too. So, Dylan gives him a sermon and says that the apocalypse is now upon them. This is the end of days for them. The men are afraid. They don't know who's in charge. The men want Dylan in charge. Dylan absolutely refuses to. He's just Ripley be the leader. Ripley brings up, like, how this one moves a lot differently. She's not sure the same tactics will work against it. She just knows that the previous ones she ran into were afraid of fire. So she asks, like, what can we do to stop this thing? So she gets a rundown of how this facility works. Like, nothing here works more. The video camera systems are down. The climate systems are down. The security systems are down. There's, like, nothing at all. They're basically making open doors and closed doors, and that's about it. So Ripley is working with a guy named Aaron, who's Andrew's second-hand man. He's nicknamed 85, which is his IQ. He basically just parroted everything Andrew said before he died, so he's a man of very little intellect. He's played by Ralph Brown. Weaver and him had a weird relationship while filming. So Weaver apparently said to him at one point while filming that she tried to get him killed on page 10. And apparently this character, when he was cast, they initially, in filming, they rewrote this character from being a sympathetic family man who just wanted to return home to being a complete dumbass so the audience would stop rooting for him. And the idea was that people would be rooting for this guy too much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, like, okay. Brown said that, like, Weaver was also really cold with Charles Dance while filming. he was the one that mentioned like how like she might have self-conscious with a bald head and stuff, which presented the audience. Later on, Weaver would actually apologize to Ralph Brown about her behavior while filming. Brown also, like, Fincher was really, really great to work with. He actually designed long tracking shots so that Fox and the producers would have a lot more problem cutting the movie without him. So, and also, like, you know, on top of her being an asshole, she might have also been in character too, because her character is an asshole to 85 in the movie as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's no actor's ever taken method acting too far before.
Not at all.
No, it's never been a thing that's happened. Not that that's what she was doing here.
Yeah.
The fact that she came back and apologized later is kind of
that's
thing.
good. Yeah,
she didn't have to do that.
True. Yeah. So Aaron, aka 85, he shows Ripley a containment room full of toxic sludge and barrels. So they're playing right now, which is just really never mind. They plan to flush it out of the ventilation shafts by igniting toxic waste to trap it in the toxic waste disposal containment room. This sequence is majorly different than the theatrical cut because they try this plan and it fails pretty quickly without much fanfare in the theatrical cut. And this one, it actually works for a little bit.
Kinda.
For a couple scenes. So they're prepping the whole event, putting all kinds of sludge in. They're like, everyone's coughing, feeling miserable. Ripley feels sick, and then an alien kills one of the inmates, and which causes him to drop like a torch early, which ignites the trap early, which burns a lot of the prisoners, explodes them, and like, but pretty much about 2/3 of the inmates just die in this sequence right here, all blowing up.
Yep.
As an alien's just eating them too. Hoyt McElhaney, who's like a David Fincher regular, he distracts the alien by he's also one of the ones that tried to rape Ripley before. He distracts the alien by running into the containment silo. He runs inside. We get to hear him screaming from a far distance as he's dying horribly. They lock the door, trap the alien inside, which is something that happens only in the assembly cut. Theatrical cut, they just skipped the right next sequence. We never see Golic again in the theatrical cut, but in the assembly cut, we see a lot more of him here. So his fate is just unknown in the theatrical cut. He's just still...
Yeah, I guess they leave him in the infirmary.
He's still just locked in the infirmary. So, in the infirmary, Morris unties Golic. Golic says he's excited to see the dragon again. And he just knocks Morse out with like a shovel or something. Or a bedpan, I think. And Aaron and Ripley are at a computer, so they're trying to send a message to the company that they've trapped a xenomorph. And, we're safe at the moment. The company responds to... The company apparently never responds to direct messages, but Ripley asks for permission to terminate the xenomorph. And they initially like, permission denied.
No,
can't do that. Bad Ripley. So Ripley talks to Dylan about how they need to kill the creature before the company arrives, because otherwise the company's just going to capture it and use it for its own nefarious means, which will get more people killed. Dylan doesn't give a fuck what Weyland-Yutani does to the alien. To him, the outside world does not matter to him anymore, only the people here. And even the people here doesn't really care about it too much.
Yeah, I mean, they're an apocalyptic religion with their end of days happening. I mean, this is kind of their bread and butter of things that...
Yeah, this is what they kind of want to happen.
Although, you know what? I kind of think, in a way, that given how it sets up all these hardened criminals, like, I think the decision to cut the religious stuff out of the assembly cut is maybe a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Because it both helps explain, like, their religion is sort of an offset of Christianity. A lot of Christianity is about, despite what evangelicals may espouse, is a lot about redemption. So having these prisoners both cooperate with each other and collaborate with Ripley in the situation, it kind of helps explain why they might be willing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, like, sort of every man for himself sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of space in this place. There's no real reason they have to all...
Bundle up together
and
mm-hmm.
work together.
Yeah, I think that's, like... You can tell why the studio would be like, hey, let's cut this religious stuff in the movie because, like, it might bore the audiences. But you lose a lot of the texture and purpose of the movie if you cut that.
Yeah, and so many of the other scenes that are cut in the assembly is just like... I know we talked about earlier how all these guys are kind of look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. I can't really tell them apart other than the ones that get special screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those scenes are just like little character moments showing them like going about their business. Like the guy mopping up after the supervisor gets pulled
mm-hmm.
up into the duct.
Yeah.
So like it sort of humanizes these guys a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I see why you would cut that if you were going to cut something, but I for one appreciate the fact that it was there.
Yeah, same here, yeah. And like, what's also interesting too with the religious angle as well is that, like, it definitely is like a form of Christianity they're working with, but there's no real Christian imagery going on.
No.
Like, they're not really doing any crosses. There's no, like, rosary beads. There's no, like, even, like, podiums, or there's no pews for religious sermons, like, or a Bible even. There's no, like, books. It's literally just the way they're speaking and the way they're interacting with their own faith and each other, which is really interesting for a religious movie. This is an outwardly religious movie, but it's not full of the same, like, visual symbolism.
No, you're right. So
Golic reaches the toxic waste door, where they seal the alien off. He wants to see the dragon again. The guy's like, no, fuck no, it's not gonna happen. So he slices the guy's throat, and Golic is like apologizing profusely doing so. He walks into this open door, like asking what the dragon wants him to do next, and he immediately gets killed by this xenomorph. Because
you know what's kind of funny? I maybe this is just fresh on my mind. I thought that like this particular scene with Golic and Golic's entire arc in the assembly cut is like, you remember Renfield from Dracula?
Yeah.
It's basically that same arc. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, like, the xenomorph isn't really Dracula in any other way, but, like, for some reason they lifted that particular arc for this character.
And it's not like the xenomorph's going to communicate with him in a way that he wants to.
No.
And he's not going to, like, Golic is an insane person, so it's not, like, he's operating with, like, the full deck of cards here.
No, I don't know. I just, for some reason, that just struck me as, like, they basically just lifted that plot. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. People in
I would love for there have been some sort of Dracula draft for Alien 3 somewhere beforehand.
Maybe there was.
Who knows? Like, these are just like the versions we've heard of. I wonder what the other versions that we never heard about were. So the xenomorph is back out, and everyone of course is panicking. But they now know they have 10 hours before the rescue ship shows up. So Weyland-Yutani is going to show up in 10 hours. Ripley's kind of like still feeling sick, so she wants a medical scan to figure what's going on with her. So she goes back to the cryo bed, the critical sleep casket there. I'm calling it the same thing. Yeah. So Aaron, 85, who's not the brightest bulb in the world, he runs the scan for her while she's inside. So Ripley's trying to tell her what a hemorrhage would look like under this like scan she's going under, and she's going through it, like, saying it pretty simply for Aaron to understand, and the notification pops up on the screen that we see. Foreign tissue detected. You've got one of those things inside of you, he says. So we see the embryo on the screen. It looks pretty nasty. It looks different, a little bit different than a facehugger. It's like, it's a full-on embryo. It's not a facehugger. It's like full-on, like, or not a facehugger, chest burster. Chest burster, yeah. We see an embryo inside. It looks a little bit different than a chest burster. It looks a lot more, the head is a lot longer. So it's a queen embryo, so it's much different. The men consider barricading themselves in the assembly hall as there are no ventilation shafts in there, but since they have no weapons, they're just sitting ducks. And they then remember that Ripley said it's afraid of fire. They decide to hurt it first, so they decide to lead it to the foundry instead, where there's a lot of fire. Aaron's just a guard, so he just wants to go home in his next rotation. Ripley wants to tell the rescue people that the planet is toxic to get them to change course. Aaron's kind of refusing to do that. Ripley says, like, if the alien escapes the planet, everyone will die. And Ripley is ready to die herself. And she realized that the reason why the alien didn't kill her in the infirmary is because of the host inside of her. So this alien doesn't really want to harm her. It kind of wants to protect her, if anything.
Yep.
So Aaron receives a message on the computer saying, absolute highest priority, Lieutenant Ripley to be quarantined until arrival. And they keep spamming, waiting acknowledgement, waiting acknowledgement, waiting acknowledgement. Which is a pretty rude way to text message someone.
It is.
I should start doing that. I should start doing more things in my life like Weyland-Yutani.
I don't know if you really want to operate your life like a megacorp.
Yeah, that's some... Oh, do they have any good ideas?
They're supposed to have a lot of space colonies. I'm sure some of them aren't bad.
Yeah.
Everyone you see on screen in any of the movies looks
it's
like...
horrible.
It's horrible, but that doesn't...
It might be... I guess it's like every mega corporation. It might be pretty good if you're at the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a pyramid scheme.
Yeah. So... We do see a spaceship making its way to the planet there, so like a spaceship is actually coming. It's not like a duplicit act or something. So Ripley decides to test her theory, so she goes down to the basement to see if the alien will attack her or not. And she's like, "Don't worry, I'm your family." And it eventually does show up. It comes close to her and just cuts away. I truly love in the scenes like this how the xenomorph actually looks. Like a lot of those bad scenes running around, kind of like flavor negatively how we look at the xenomorph in Alien 3, but a lot of the scenes of it where it's like the full body when it's just like on two legs like that, kind of crawling around, look I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, in terms of some of the in terms of like the actual like suit or puppet, when you see like small parts of it, this is probably one of the better looking xenomorphs in the entire series.
Yeah,
but
like I think in individual moments in this movie is the best it's ever looked.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant.
Yeah. But the problem is that we have a few of those shots that are poorly composited that looks pretty awful. So since Ripley lived, clearly because the xenomorph wanted to kill her, she's now talking to Dylan, and she says a great line, which is, "When I was in cryosleep, I was violated. Now I get to be the mother." And a lot of like feminist reads of the first Alien movie, particularly, are like the male getting raped and impregnated aspect of it. And it's interesting that now it's kind of flipped back to the typical like, a woman gets raped and impregnated by this thing that she does not want. So, like, again, Ripley is not having a great time.
She is not.
This movie is very, very upsetting. Ripley tells Dylan she wants to die. She can't do it herself. So she asks Dylan to kill her. The creature, and she says, like, the creature inside her can generate thousands and kill the entire universe. And Dylan has an axe, so Ripley readies herself for death by axe. And, like, she puts herself, like, towards, like, towards a wall there, and Dylan's about to do it, swings the axe, but he misses on purpose, swings against the wall instead. Dylan says he won't go down without a fight. That thing has killed his men, and he says he will kill her if Dylan will kill Ripley if she helps her fight. Dylan will kill Ripley if she helps them fight the xenomorph, and if she actually wants to die, she should just stop being a coward and do it herself. And Dylan has a great line, it's like, quick, easy, and painless. He promises her.
Yep.
His delivery is fantastic. The men are gearing up for a showdown. They still think they should face the creature head on. They think, like, we should just wait for Will and Yutani to show up. Ripley shuts them down with a truth bomb, saying, like, when they first heard about this thing, it was crew expendable. The next time, they sent a bunch of Marines. They were expendable too. What makes you think they're going to care about a bunch of lifers who found God at the ass end of space? And Dylan says with the fire axe in hand. And this sequence is shortened in the theatrical cut too. Like, the scene rules. And we're all going to die. The only question is when. This is as good of a place as any to take your first steps to heaven. The only question is how you check out. Do you want to go on your feet or on your fucking knees begging? I ain't much for begging. Nobody ever gave me nothing. So I say, fuck that thing. Let's fight it. So they're kind of motivated slightly to go, defeat this thing. So the plan is to lure the xenomorph into the range of a piston to knock the alien into a mold, then to pour molten lead on top of it. So the sequence is kind of unfortunate because, again, it has a lot of the shots where the alien does not look that great because of the poor compositing. Plus, it's a lot of the same hallways.
It is. I did think that it was cool when they did kind of the... I described it to you the other night as the like, Evil Dead camera thing.
Mm-hmm.
For where you sort of get the alien's point of view as it's chasing people through the corridors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool way to do a shot like that. Also, it's probably a good way to save money as well. Like,
the scene was probably about twice as long as it needed to be. Though.
Yeah, and it speaks to the big problem again, where you can't really tell who the people are that's chasing around, and the hallways don't look that exciting. It's an unfortunate sequence because I like the idea of it. There's parts where, like, they're closing, so they're trying to, like, trick it down certain hallways. They're closing doors behind it, so they're trying to narrow down its pathway so it goes right to where they want it to go. Yeah. And there's parts where, it's able to break through the glass of the doors and kill a couple people. The alien's just picking off more and more men, too, so the deaths look pretty great. And one of the guys gets grabbed by the alien, gets like a big scratch on the neck or face. Dylan starts dragging him down the hallway to try to save him, but, like, it's too late. This guy's going to be dead. But the alien is in the hallway, needs to be hit by the piston, but just pulls the corpse away that it was going after, and just kind of flees. So the plan doesn't really work too well. So as this happened, as they're trying to lure the alien towards the piston in the foundry there, the company arrives to the planet there. So Aaron's greeting them up top there. So we're cutting towards the Will and Yutani people working their way down towards where all the main action is. There's a part where the alien's kind of chasing after Ripley and Dylan there, and Ripley's ready to kind of like sacrifice herself right then and there, but Dylan forces Ripley to keep on living. He refuses to let her die before the creature dies, and Dylan sacrifices himself to be the bait as the lead's poured on the alien in this little bit of a hallway, and so like he says to her beforehand, he's like, "God will take care of you," says to Ripley, and she's pissed off because like, you said you're the one who's going to kill me, so like she's kind of livid that he's going to die first, and the xenomorph gets ready to eat him. He says "fuck you" to it, and then the xenomorph just starts chomping on him.
Yeah, challenging a xenomorph to fisticuffs is not usually a winning strategy. Which in this case, it wasn't really intended to be. But
yeah, he's calling it a motherfucker, saying "fuck you" "damn you" a lot to it as he's dying horribly with all his screams. But they're able to position the molten lead and dump it on top of the xenomorph. So the triumphant music begins to play. But the alien's now covered in lead and pops out of the molten goo. So it's all silvery and metallic looking as it's climbing up pipes chasing after Ripley. So the alien is burning hot. So she hops onto like a ledge there and turns on the sprinklers, which douses the alien in water. Which thermal shock occurs, causing the xenomorph to fucking explode into chunks.
I thought that was pretty cool. You know what the funny thing is, though? That was actually foreshadowed in a couple of other scenes where things like shatter due to thermal shock earlier. In the scene where they're blowing up, where they trap it in the lead like waste control room,
mm-hmm.
There's a shot right at the end where they turn on the Dylan finally manages to turn on the sprinklers,
mm-hmm.
and like a can or like a piece of pipe sitting on the ground like explodes due to thermal shock.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And I think there was one other thermal shock really. That might have been the only one, but for some reason I thought there was a second one. Mm-hmm. So like they're definitely like reminding you that this is a like physics concept that exists. Like,
yeah, and like it's a cool way to kill this alien like that without having resort to like gunfire or the vacuum of space.
Yeah, I mean that is true. Nothing gets sucked out into the vacuum of space this time because it can't because they're on a planet.
And the one CGI shot that is in the movie is when the water hits the alien's head and it starts cracking.
Yes,
that's CGI.
Yes, that would.
But that part looks pretty good.
That looked pretty good. Yeah. The other thing, too, about this scene that kind of made me laugh when I was watching this, and this just might be due to my own background outside of movies and stuff, but I was trying to figure out, like, all right, so this is, like, the space future. Why do they have a giant-ass lead foundry? And then it hit me that, like, they probably use it for radiation shielding on their, like, spaceships. Like, that so, like, because they make a comment about the bunker that they trap in, and the walls are made of lead, and that it, like, not even, like, it's for storing radioactive material.
That makes sense, yeah.
So I kind of thought, there maybe is a practical purpose for this. Not that there needed to be, given that it's, like, a movie. But
yeah, and this place is mothballed. They don't really need it at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the premises you were talking about earlier for this one was a planet made of wood. So clearly, practicality sometimes takes a backseat to other things. But the more I thought about it, the more like, maybe there is a point for this.
So the Weyland-Yutani people reach the furnace filing. And they're being led by a guy named Bishop, who's played by Lance Henriksen, and looks like Bishop the android. And he claims to Ripley that he's not an android, but the original designer. He claims to be a friendly face to show her how important she is to the company. And Bishop claims that he wants to take this alien embryo out of her and save her life. He says their plan is to kill it. If we let it live, everyone will be in jeopardy. We can easily take it out of you in like 2 hours' time. And Ripley can go on, like, have a happy life with a family and children. This doesn't have to be the end of the road for you. And she says, like, she wants a guarantee that it will be destroyed once it's taken out of her. And Bishop says, you just have to trust me. And she does not. Ripley closes down a gate, and she's with Morse. Morse gets shot by one of the Weyland-Yutani guys. And they begin to move around on a platform. Aaron hits Bishop with a big wrench, and Weyland-Yutani people just shoot him right dead. So Bishop he's bleeding from the ear, and it's all red. And we know that androids always bleed white. But the way his ear detaches, in a way, it looks so, like, inhuman. Like, his ear's, like, partially off. Like,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I read some theories that, like, we don't know exactly how long. I'm not sure we know exactly how long it's been since they've been, like, in cryosleep. That could have been quite some time. That maybe the androids have developed further.
Yeah, it could be.
They're better androids than before. Maybe they're not, the white-blooded androids. Like, again, at this point in the canon, because I think Alien Resurrection have the white-blooded androids again, so...
Well, and Alien Resurrection is set, like, very, very far. I think it's, like...
200 more years, yeah.
I thought it was even more than that. I thought it was, like, 2,700 or something.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
it's very far in the future compared to the rest of the movies that are, like, 100 years or so from today's date.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And so... But at this point, Bishop's, like, showing his true face there. He says, like, think about how much we can learn from this magnificent specimen. Like, and there's for some reason, the Weyland-Yutani people have a video camera recording this incident, and Bishop yells, like, put the damn camera down. Like, this is a bad idea to record this incident. So Bishop's like pleading and yelling at her to like not kill herself or anything. So she finally has the courage to jump off and kill herself. So she falls down into this furnace, and she in the assembly cut she falls like all Christ-like, arms out, and then she that's how she dies. It just melts into the fire there. In the theatrical cut, though, the embryo bursts out of her just as she's falling. I don't think it looks that great. I don't really see the necessity of having the.
I mean, if the implication is that it dies too with her, there's not really any narrative point for that happening.
Yeah, I guess like the one kind of cool thing about when she does kind of fall with it, because it kind of bursts out and she kind of almost like hugs it back in, as like you're going to hell with me tonight.
Oh, fair enough.
But I do with all the religious symbolism, having her do the Christ-like thing falling down, it's actually kind of a nice visual element too of like this is the sacrifice needed to save humanity, because like everyone else wants this alien for nefarious purposes, for bioweapon research or for whatever else they want to do with it, but she's like willing to like I will die to take this fucker down and actually like save people's lives, because like at this point in the canon, like this is the only xenomorph, like only like trail of xenomorphs we run into, so like this could be the very last one we're ever going to encounter. And of course, like just spin-offs, whatever like that, where clearly there's a lot more, but at this point, this is it. Like this is the last xenomorph in existence, and I think even Alien Resurrection, because that movie they clone her, bring her back to get the xenomorph back.
Yeah, they cloned her with the queen alien embryo inside of her still somehow. Mm-hmm. That's how cloning works, I guess.
Yeah. They found some like blood of hers in this movie. I think probably from like the infirmary or something, and they just like cloned her for resurrection.
Yeah, but the xenomorph was still
it's still in her.
It was still in the clone. So.
Which cloning. Morris is the only survivor. He's led away by the company men. We hear Ripley. The show shot of like the cryosleep capsule, and we hear Ripley's final logbook that from the end of the first movie. You see a monitor that says Weyland-Yutani Work Prison Fury 161 is closed and sealed. Custodial presence terminated. Remaining refining equipment to be sold as scrapped. End of transmission. End of movie. So Ripley is very much dead.
Yep.
The xenomorph is very much dead. So no one that we knew and loved from Aliens survived this whole journey. And it's a very bleak and sad movie. Doesn't really feel like a real triumph, despite the fact that humanity is saved.
Yep.
And so Alien 3 upon release received pretty mixed reviews. It didn't do the best in North America, but it did really well worldwide. It made pretty much as much as the first film, which is kind of surprising considering how how unappealing this movie is to mass audiences.
Yeah, like just box office numbers, or
box office, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and like,
but I guess like if you imagine that with each successive sequel, if they continue to maintain their quality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is different in our modern world that we live in now, where like DVDs and post-release things are more of a thing than they were in the 70s. But you would think that they would like each release would get progressively more hyped, so it would do more well in theaters, because people who didn't see it in theaters would have learned about it. Because keep in mind, this is 13 something ish years after the original Alien came out. Yeah. So like it's been in the culture for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people were probably itching for another Alien movie. This is not the Alien movie that anyone expected, or it's not the movie that anyone wanted either. I think people were expecting more of an Aliens type movie, or a basic, a pretty back to base. This is almost like a very similar back to basics like movie. It is a single alien killing off people one by one, with Ripley in it. It's just I don't think people were really expecting how bleak and sad and oppressive the tone is, which is all David Fincher stuff. David Fincher loves doing very his movies can be pretty lively and fun at points, but they are very sterile.
Yes,
which is probably the best way to describe Fincher's work. The tone of it is very oppressive. It's very ugly scenery, ugly men, not much humor. It's very nasty. It's mean. It's cruel.
It's dark. I don't mean dark narratively. I mean literally dark.
Mm-hmm.
The scenes. This place is from the blocking perspective. This place is industrial and run down, and
mm-hmm.
For some reason the infirmary seems like it's like a World War I era infirmary for some reason, with the way that the curtains are there and stuff like that. I can't think of another movie that looks like this movie.
No. I can't think of a movie that looks like this movie or another movie that like, even feels like this movie. And like I've grown to appreciate Alien 3 more and more every time I watch it because I've like, especially this time around, like I was paying a lot more attention this time, taking down notes for like characters. I was able to admire the smaller character dynamics that were happening, which are so hard to do when you're watching for the first time. Like, who the fuck is this British bald guy? Who the fuck is that British bald guy? Like,
I saw again when I was doing some research for this when we found out we were going to do this. I saw a Reddit post that was like criticizing the movie, and it's like it's just one fucking bald British guy running out of a tunnel after another, and I hope they all die.
And they do all die, which is nice.
And you know that is the like last third of the movie or so. But
yeah, and like a lot of critics didn't like Roger Ebert famously hated this movie, and they got a lot of backlash. Like it's fans and previous cast members. Fans and previous cast and crew members of the franchise, they truly hated the fact that they killed all these beloved characters. Like Weaver spoken out against killing like Newton Hicks, so has like James Cameron. I think Ridley Scott's even said at some point. Like Ridley Scott said, I feel like a lot of people change their minds based on like looking back at Alien movies, but the fact that they really seem to be trying to make that Alien sequel with like Sigourney Weaver and Michael Biehn like in the past decade, which would have just pretended Alien 3 and Alien 4 did not exist. And like continuing the fun adventures of like Newt Ripley and like and Hicks, which like a lot of people were really hoping they become like a family unit, and like a lot of scripts like spec scripts were like, what if they go back home on Earth and something like that, and then Alien would come and attack Earth. That's the thing with this movie too, Alien 3 as well. Is like when they initially pitched it, like there's some actually some marketing materials like the alien comes to Earth this time. They really had no idea.
Wasn't it like on Earth everyone can hear you scream or something like that?
I think that was it, yeah. Which is like, it's just like they had no idea what this movie was going to be until like the very end. And the fact they were just like making, like there was no finished script while they were before they made the movie. Fincher hated working on it. I think one of the actors said like oftentimes when making Alien 3, there were more producers on set than actors. So it's a very meddled with movie. And so, like, Fincher's completely disowned the movie, and he told The Guardian in 2009 that no one hated it more than me. To this day, no one hates it more than me. And he also, blamed the producers for failing to trust him because, like, he was a rookie. This is his first feature film. They probably thought he could control him a lot more. And it's just a meddled with movie, which is unfortunate because I think that, like, I've grown to like the final product as it is because it's such a unique kind of movie. But it's a lot of missed potential.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. So you mentioned Ebert. I think this was him that I read this. He described, like, he said it was the best looking bad movies he had seen.
Yeah, like people like how I think people liked how it looked. I think it was really just the material of the movie that people had huge disagreements with.
So, like, I think that if you are a person that can't get over killing off Newton Hicks at the beginning, there's nothing this movie could have ever done that would have got you.
You're never going to be on board with Alien 3 if you are dedicated. Like Newton Hicks have to be alive for me to enjoy this movie.
Yeah, you were never gonna like, or if you just can't like just like say, okay, this is a thing that happened. Let's see what else is happening. Which is, I mean, that I'm not saying that's a bad take. I'm just saying that it's when we describe this decision to kill them off as bold. It's bold for a reason.
Yeah, and like there is a way you can do the story where like she gets jettisoned, but the other two do not.
Yeah, I mean,
and I feel like that's
they're
like
still alive, but then the movie otherwise proceeds exactly as it did before.
But then you lack Ripley being all like completely miserable and dejected, and having like this like be kind of the final stand for her in a complete state of depression and melancholy, which I think is what makes Alien 3 kind of work.
That would, I mean, both scenarios are kind of contrived, but it feels. This seems like more logical than that scenario would have been.
I feel like it's a lot of people trying to fix. There's a hodgepodge of scripts thrown together. I think it's a lot of people trying to fix the movie and just you turn into a movie that it's not at the end of the day. I think that just the assembly cut coming out in 2003 on home video, like that's when people kind of start looking at Aliens like, oh, like this is actually pretty. It's a unique kind of movie. Here's what David Fincher's intended vision was. He was not able to completely figure it out due to the studio getting in the way, but it's a lot more interesting of a movie, this assembly cut, than the theatrical cut. Theatrical cut might be better paced, but it's just not. It's not that interesting compared to this one.
No, and I know when I first saw the theatrical cut, and I watched them both at relatively the same time because it was when I got the quadrilogy box set. That was when I first saw Alien 3. I didn't really, like, I felt, I didn't feel very good about the movie. And I think a good chunk of that was from the theatrical cut has all these characters. They're all kind of samey. It doesn't really give you a whole lot of time with any particular one of them, even the ones that you're supposed to like. Whereas when I watched the assembly cut later, I thought, Charles Dance and Dutton and a couple of the other guys get more time. They get more fleshed out. They're more interesting characters.
They're characters this time around rather than just like faceless people.
Yes. So from a pacing perspective, I think the theatrical cut is a little bit better paced. I like the dog thing versus the alien thing. There's a few other things that are different that all are also kind of like feel like they're better in the theatrical cut, but I think overall as a package, keeping a lot of the scenes that were added in the assembly cut, you need that to make the movie what it is. So
yeah, and I think also it helps with Alien 3's reputation too. Is that like, I think everyone will agree in some way or another they've made worse Alien movies since then. If you want to include Alien vs. Predator in the mix, or you're someone like me who doesn't enjoy Alien Resurrections, or someone like me who does not like Romulus, I think that like also what helps Alien 3's reputation too is that with James Cameron, Ridley Scott not being involved in Alien 3, and David Fincher being involved, and then with Resurrection having a different director too, is like it became a director's franchise where it's a different flavor each movie.
Yeah.
So I think not having this be like the final Alien movie kind of helped people realize like maybe it isn't as bad as I expected it'd be, and like people would be like, hey, that wasn't as bad as AVP2 Requiem.
And I'm going to wear my Alien apologist hat because like Alien Resurrection is I think it's a much worse movie than this movie.
Yeah.
But like even it had some okay ideas.
Yeah. The problem with that movie is that you have a French director trying to do a Joss Whedon script, and I think it's a bad mix of director and material. I think that script needed to be rewritten one more time to remove a lot of the humor to it, because I think the humor does not translate to...
No, and I mean, like for example, in Alien Resurrection, when they come across that room of failed Replicant clones, like, that is a very brutal, dark scene, and then I think there's, like, jokes shortly before and after it, and it doesn't quite land. The scenes with the aliens chasing them through the water is pretty cool. They didn't do that in any of the other movies.
Yeah.
The hybrid looks kind of weird, but it's also kind of like...
It has an awesome death.
It does. Very, very upsetting noises does that thing make in its death scene.
It looks so sad.
I know.
Its eyes, like, I don't want to die.
Yeah. That is... which is, again, that there's... It's... Other than Alien vs. Predator 2, it might be the worst movie in the franchise.
Yeah.
But it still at least tries to do some interesting stuff.
Yeah, so like I can see why people come around to Alien 3 pretty easily, because I've come around to it as well, watching this longer version of it. I think that it's not going to solve the problems you're going to have with the movie if you didn't like the overall plot of it. But if you want to look at a movie like what I like about the Alien movies a lot, which is why I have a lot of issues with Romulus, is that I think that Alien is a really, really interesting franchise to think about. Like, it has a lot of thematic meat on its bones to like really like, you know, have you to chew on a little bit, to kind of like, you know, get some thoughts going in your brain. It's some really smart science fiction movies. So I don't think that like having a movie be like Alien versus Predator, where it's like there's nothing intellectual about that movie at all. But I think that the four main movies of the quadrilogy there, plus the Ridley Scott's 2 prequel movies, there's a lot of interesting, bold thematic material it's trying to tackle.
Yeah, and I mean even Alien Romulus, like, while it is not, while it's a bit more of a rehash of some of the other things, it even does some interesting things. Like, it gives you a little bit of a sense of what life is like on these planets that are run by Weyland-Yutani. It gives sort of some insights into the depths that they were. It returns the black goo from Prometheus, so like it shows that like Weyland-Yutani's pursuing other like how obsessed they are with this thing. It's not just about Ripley. They're actively trying to acquire some of these things. Have you watched Alien Earth yet too?
I've watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of it, but I mean to get around to watching the rest of it when I renew my Disney Plus.
So I don't know entirely how this works, but I think it's supposed to be set in an alternate continuity.
Okay.
But I'm really if it is not, I'm really interested to see in later seasons how it plays into the beginning, because it's set before Prometheus, even I think.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it is somewhere. It's definitely before the first Alien.
Okay.
No, it's not set before Prometheus. No.
Yeah.
But before the first Alien. So like how that plays into some of the other the lead up to those other things, because it clearly has something to do with why Weyland-Yutani. Because in the first Alien movie, they already knew about the. They already knew about the. It was implied they already knew about the derelict spaceship.
Yeah, because like the distress beacon to go to one specific spot.
Yes, so like they already kind of knew about what was going on, or knew what they would find there, or they had some foreknowledge of it. And that's one of those things that maybe when I find out maybe if that's where Alien Earth is going, we find out the answer, it'll be less satisfying than if we did know it. If it remained a mystery, sorry. But I'm curious.
Yeah,
I thought the TV series was good as well. So
yeah, I want to get around to finishing the rest of it. They had the worst song choices with the credits each time.
Those credits were interesting.
Yeah,
definitely. It's
you know, Stink Fist by Tool for one of them. That was really funny.
You told me once when you were watching Game of Thrones, there's one episode where Jaime Lannister gets his hand cut off, and then it transitions to like a weird folk version of a in-universe song.
Oh, it's like a metal version of The Bear, the Maiden Fair, I think.
Yeah, and so like that like you told me that when you watched it, it got like delayed or something like that, so that actually started.
Yeah, HBO like pretty much cut. So like when he gets his hand chopped off, like HBO, you're watching it on HBO as it was airing, like they put this song for the credits, but right when the hand got chopped, rather than 2 seconds later after the scream.
So like that is an example of how some of the credit scenes in Alien Earth felt.
Yeah,
it went from like an intense scene to bizarre metal song in the credits.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that was it's a decision.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a bad decision or a good decision, but it is a decision.
But what I like still what I like best with the Alien franchise is that it's a decision made by someone.
Yes.
And like so that's like not shitting Ramos a lot, but Ramos feels like it was made by committee to kind of appeal to people. But like I hope Alien going forward is doing some more bold things, because I think this is a pretty bold franchise. Like my final thoughts with Alien 3 is that I think people should check it out. If you like, it's not a masterpiece like the first two movies, but like it still does some very, very bold, interesting things. And like when your movie starts off like with a child death, you're really, really like messing with people's expectations and saying this is going to be a very sad and upsetting movie. And I think it plays out, if you're willing to watch a very sad and upsetting horror blockbuster, that's probably the most depressing thing a Hollywood blockbuster's ever been, then Alien 3 rocks.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts about Alien 3, Ben?
No, I mean, just the other thing, too, it might be worth checking out if you're, like, a really big David Fincher fan as well, if you haven't seen it yet. I know he's kind of disowned the movie, so you might... But if you watch some stuff that he did before, it's sort of, what is his first feature film, I think?
It's his first feature film, yeah.
So, like, you can definitely see how some of the ideas that he used in that movie would evolve into more things later. Like, when he took that iconic scene that we've already praised so much and said... it's crap, I can do better.
Yeah.
You can sort of see a lot of his other ideas that he would use more successfully later on cropping up in this movie in the first place.
And the funny thing, too, is that, like, the producers jumping in because they did not trust David Fincher's vision, is that David Fincher's been so validated in the years since. Like, he's been up for, like, 3 Oscars. He's made some absolute masterpieces since then. So, like, he's not just some, like, work-for-hire director. He is a guy with an actual creative vision. I am fascinated. His next movie is going to be a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, written by Quentin Tarantino, about Brad Pitt's character.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be interesting.
It's like, the continuing adventures of like Cliff Booth or something, I think it's called.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
So, I'm fascinated with that, because David Fincher's, he has funny scenes in movies, but like, that's going to have to be a really funny-ass movie, because like, that character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a really funny character.
Huh.
Yeah, so, thank you so much for joining me, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
So we recorded this a little bit early because I'm at Forest City Film Festival. So I don't know what my next week's episode is going to be yet. I have a few things lined up. I need to figure out some scheduling because some of the guests I have are, have some busy schedules. But so I'll post on social media what the next episode ends up being. If they all go to plan, there are going to be some fantastic episodes. I'm going to have an episode at some point about some coverage from the Forest City Film Festival. So it's going to have a lot of, they have movies there playing like sentimental value and other shows we've already seen, but also like movies like Sirat, A Poet, Chronology of Water, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, that I'm planning to see, which I'm really stoked to check out. So I'll do some coverage episode about that at some point. You can also follow me at bwishart on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. You can also follow MoviePod on Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube. So until next week, where there will be some sort of content for your ear holes to listen to, take care.